To episode 290 of Sports on the Hill podcast. I'm Robbie. I have a full team here live and in studio with me, and I'll introduce them in just a second. But yeah, an exciting week of Washington, D.C. sports. I will talk about the general podcast and how it's going to flow. It's going to be a long one tonight. We've got a lot of sports that we're covering. The first thing we'll be talking is a little bit of hockey. We got our hockey roundtable. Then we'll be talking about the Commanders. They've now won 2 weeks in a row. And we'll talk about last week's game a little bit, even though we kind of talked about it live as it was happening, which is very exciting. But we'll talk a little bit about it with Dujanay Bland, and Champ will also be back. And then after that, we've got Kasey, who's part of this hockey roundtable, will join us for a Wizards roundtable. And we'll bring in Brian Brennan as well for part of that, and Champ. And so that should be a fun thing. I got to go to a Wizards game this week. It was one of the very first games I'd actually gotten to see live since the pandemic. I haven't gone to a hockey game. I hadn't gone to a basketball game. So it was the first time back in Cap One for that. And so that was really cool. And it was a big night. The big three, as we call them in the Wizards fans, Gilbert Arenas, Antoine Jameson, and Karan Butler were back in the building. I went to go celebrate them. And so that was really exciting. And an actual really good basketball game broke out. It actually went to overtime. And so that was really fun too. They were able to win that in overtime. So I've got a lot of footage and stuff. I've never done it live on podcast, but I'm going to try to share some of the footage because I never actually made a video or edited, but I can kind of talk a little bit about my adventure and show some pictures and video never before seen. So that'll be kind of fun during that segment. And then Brian is going to stay on with me at 11 o'clock. We're going to do a World Cup special where he's going to help me. I love the World Cup, but I haven't been able to pay attention to all the details because usually it's in the summer and usually it's the only thing, with that, the exception of some soccer, locally, and some baseball. It's, there's not usually there's usually a lull. Right now there's a lot of sports, but we are going to break it down for anybody who hasn't been following. I know that unfortunately Team USA tied today. It wasn't a win. So I'll have Brian break that game down as well. So a big show tonight. Again, we're starting with hockey, then football, then basketball, then World Cup. For the too long didn't listen to me for the first part of that. So let's get into the hockey talk. We've got the full Power Play Point podcast joining us tonight. I'll start by introducing Anna Knox. How are you doing tonight, Anna?
I'm doing great. And just as you were talking, George Kittle scored for the Niners. So I just had
nice. I saw you were very excited. Honestly, it's such a busy night. I do not even have it on. So I'll let you do scoring updates for the Niners. And so is it 7-0 now for the 49ers?
Oh, no. It's 14-3. But
14-3.
It's just fantastic. And I love to have it on right now. So
yeah, 14-3 is even better than 7-0. So at least according to my basic math. So so I'm happy for you and the Niners. I have to say the Niners and the Commanders are fighting for that last wild card spot. But I would never root against you, Anna. But I just, it is something that's on my mind. But I'm happy that you're able to join us. And I was listening to the first half of your podcast on the way home tonight. And the other half of the Power Play Point podcast is Gil, the blue liner on point himself. How are you doing tonight, Gil?
Not too bad. Doing better. We were talking about getting over COVID. I was telling Kasey and Anna, I'm about 85% of the way back. So hopefully our latest episode, which we recorded last night, just hit the airwaves. So hopefully I sound a little bit more presentable and acceptable.
You did great last week, even with all things considered. So I appreciate you pushing through, and I'm so happy we did that episode. It was a really cool episode. If anyone wants to go back to episode 289. It's unfortunate the Capitals haven't been playing well, but we were able to celebrate a prediction that Carroll did right. We celebrated his birthday. We also talked about some of the good things with the Capitals as well. So tonight we're going to go through some of these games quickly. I want to bring in our last member of our panel before we do. Somebody I've been trying to get on the show for a little while now, and we've done a 4-person roundtable before on the Power Play Point podcast side last spring it was, and I wanted to do it again on our show, and I'm excited that it gets to happen tonight. So, Kasey, for people who don't know, I'm going to do the Kasey command in chat. But he is, you can follow him on twitter.com. So I had an old one, KM_caps. Did you get rid of that, or you change that one?
When I started the streaming stuff, I changed it to match my Twitch name, so that way everything kind of went hand in hand.
Got it. I have an old command for you. I'll have to update this. So, but
I
he's
have you
more.
frozen.
You have me frozen, or who frozen?
Am I the only one? Okay, there you go.
Okay, that's fine.
That's weird.
Yeah, it glitches. We are doing it on
good.
Zoom. Zoom is not always perfect. No, it's all good. But anyway, Rising KM on Twitch. He does Pokemon stuff on there, and you can also catch him. It's Twitch. It's also your Twitter handle as well, right? For that one.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, so it's awesome. So Titan Rising KM. But yeah, so Kasey is a fan of the DC sports teams. He's out of market fan, so it's kind of a cool way to approach it. It's a little bit different than us that is in the DMV area. He's been a big Caps fan for the last couple of years. And he also he actually came to us by way of the Wizards. He was a Wizards fan first, and then he became a fan of all the other Washington DC sports teams. And so I'm excited to get his thoughts on the Capitals first, but also on the Wizards as well. And he does have a puppy dog, as we can hear, which I feel for you. I also have a yappy dog. But Kasey, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. The dogs have decided it's prime play hours, which always happens when I go live on any whatsoever.
Right.
So like
it's universal, or cats like to climb on you, so it's one or the other usually.
Right. I'm doing really good. Been a great day. First week of Thanksgiving break for me, or first day of Thanksgiving break. Having a good time.
Yeah, it's cool. If anyone likes Pokemon content, which I do, if people are watching live on twitch.tv/RobbieG_SportsOTHP, not that that's not a mouthful, but you can play Pokemon live in chat, which you can also play in Kasey's chat, and it's really fun. And he was live streaming today the new game, which is also really fun that I've been playing with Zach. So shout out to Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. It's a cool game. People should definitely check out. And if they want to know more about it, check out Kasey's stream. Again, the link is in chat. But Kasey, I had fun with you in your stream, and now you get to be in my stream today. So that's kind of fun. Let's get into some hockey talk. We're going to go through these games very, very quickly. Anna, I'll have you break down the scoring, and then we'll I
think we temporarily lost her.
Lost Anna. Oh wait, I think, hold on. Her camera just went off. So strange.
I think she's having some
technical
technical difficulties.
Okay, that's fine. I will then do the first game, and then I'll have you guys break it down. That's fine. And let me just pull it up here just so I can have it. So the first one's going to be the Panthers game. And so unfortunately in this one, Barkov scored first. Then they scored a second one in the second period. Dylan Strome opened the scoring for the Caps, his fifth on the season, assist by Joe Snivy, and John Carlson's sixth assist of the season. I cut that lead in half, made it 2-1. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the third, when I was hoping we'd gain some momentum, Nick Cousins scored for them at 7:02, made it 3-1. John Carlson did make it interesting. He scored at 11:15 to make it 3-2. Assist by Eric Gustafson, his seventh, and Mantha Ray's fifth. So yeah, it's I thought it was going to get close and it was going to be an exciting ending, but unfortunately for us, Carter Verhaeghe scores 2 for the bad guys, and Florida wins 5-4. The second one is an empty netter. Gil, I'll start with you. What were some of your thoughts?
Well, yeah, it was, and we talked that this was a central theme. Pardon me. On our latest episode, but the last 4 losses, the last several losses were the Caps chasing the game, and that's all there was to it. They started slow, and when you fall behind, in today's NHL, it's pretty hard to catch up unless you really got your act together. And unfortunately, they didn't. And that's really all there was to it.
Yeah. It was kind of just a very disappointing game. I was hoping for a lot more from the Capitals, especially. The same sort of thing has been happening with this team where if they start strong, they can win a game, but if they don't, it becomes very, very difficult. I'm going to get Kasey's thoughts next, and then I'll get Anna's thoughts as she still connects to the audio. But Kasey, what are your thoughts about losing to the same team that we lost to in the playoffs last year?
A little bittersweet for me. I really look back at the playoffs, and I still think that we shouldn't have lost that series. That was our series to lose, and we come out and did the thing that we always do. That I have, on every time I've been on with you or on with Gil and Anna, I've harped about this. It's the same thing. It's the mentality of playing not to lose and not continue to play to win for 60 minutes of hockey. They either get a lead, and once that lead, they lay back, and then they try to play defensive. And I'm going to be honest, it's really shown, and it's been a glaring issue. We don't have the best defensive unit right now. There's issues in the defense. People are getting by. Skaters are a lot faster. They're getting around us. They're finding ways to exploit the defense to where they can get Kemper out of position or Lindgren out of position. The same thing they did with VTech and Sammy. You can't play defensive whenever you're as good of an offensive team as we are. The best way to beat somebody is to apply pressure, and that's not something it seems that we're doing consistently.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because, I do think I was listening to Gil and Anna talk about this. Some parts of it is the personnel that we've got on the ice. Our best players, or a lot of them, are injured, but still it's supposed to be a competitive team that we're putting out there regardless. And I do understand the next man up mentality, but I just got this Tom Wilson jersey, and he represents a lot to what I think that we're missing, that no matter what the players are, the rest of the team, no one really brings that physicality in that same way, or at least not any of the players that we have on our team. And I think we are really missing taking the body. I just think that sets a whole tone for the game, and there's just less intensity without him on the ice. And another player, 77, it's frustrating because we talk about Oshie a lot, but he's a heart and soul player of the team. He also gives it everything he has. He's a much smaller guy than like a Tom Wilson, but he hits just as hard and he puts it all on the ice. And just missing those two guys and Nick Backstrom, which we've talked about for a long time, one of my favorite Capitals. You can't underestimate, and Orlov has been playing great defensively the last couple of seasons. And those four players, I know that a lot of teams deal with injuries, but it's just how crucial they are to the momentum that they're able to build as a team. And it's just in a game, especially against Florida, or I feel like if we could have been a little bit more physical, it could have made all the difference, especially early on. And it's been very frustrating. Anna, what are some of your thoughts?
I don't know if you want to know my thoughts, but no, I think Gil and I talked about it yesterday, but you know what? It's incredibly frustrating in a sport like this when you have a backup, and a backup to the backup kind of thing, and they're not going to be as good or whatever, but they're going to be damn talented, and they're going to have the skills, and they're going to show their talent and their speed, and they may be younger. And my God, we have that, but I just don't feel like we're giving them ample opportunity on the ice. Excuse me, Gil and I talked yesterday about Joe Snively, perfect example. Here's a kid who's fast, who's skilled, who's young, who is passionate, he is ready to go, gets an assist on a goal, and then he's a healthy scratch for the next 2 games. It's come on, so it is incredibly frustrating. I know we're missing our top guys. Trust me, I'm missing Tom Wilson as much as anybody else is. But you have to rally behind the ones who are going to be on that line when they're not. And I need to see the consistency, the chemistry, and we're just not quite seeing it right now. And it's incredibly frustrating. And I apologize. And I don't know if Gil got it or if the listeners got it, but it's like, I hate being like having a podcast and being like womp womp about everything.
No, I think it's important to show both sides of this, Anna, because like honestly, for the rest of this podcast, the Wizards and the Commanders have both gone 5 out of their last 6. So for me, like they're doing all the right things, and this happens in sports. Like most of the time, it's the Capitals doing great and those teams, doing terrible. So it's kind of a topsy-turvy podcast in that regard. But like all teams go through ups and downs. Even in our Stanley Cup run in 2018, people wanted to fire Trotz halfway through that season. So I mean, there's always adversity that you have to go through, right? No one, think about the St. Louis Blues a couple of years back, right? Weren't they like the worst team in hockey at this point in the season? And they went on to like win the cup later that year. So like, I think almost every good team goes through some adversity, and I'm hoping that this is that moment that we can pull out of it. But I don't think we can shy away from the negativity and be like, it's hard to put a sugar coat on a week where we get 1 point. It's not.
It is. Well, and it's like nobody ever wants to hear the rebuilding word, because it's like the worst. Like, oh, we're rebuilding. We'll get it next year. New coach. We're new this, new that, whatever. In any sport, nobody wants to hear it because you're like, fuck, like let's just do it. But I think for the Capitals, it's like there just isn't that consistency on the lines. Or you want to be like, okay, some of the players are rookies or this or that. It's like they keep changing. There's injuries and whatever, and it is very, very frustrating. Especially this past week, doesn't stop me from being a fan. I'm not going to root for anybody else, but.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that we go through it. Let's get into the St. Louis game, because this game I thought was a little bit more of like a back and forth, and there was a real opportunity here for the Capitals, and unfortunately, it was lost. But Anna, break down the scoring in this one, and then we can break down. I think there's a lot more positive, at least in this game for me.
Right. So first period, the Blues score 3 times. I mean, at this point, you're got to be like, I'm going to turn the game off or not. Second period, Ovi gets number 9 at 15:12, and Carlson gets number 4 at 17:37. So the Blues score again, and it's 4-2 into the third. Okay. At this point, you just really just don't know. I mean, I think I might have even turned it off by now, but we'll see.
I'll be honest, I turned it on and off multiple times on this game, but I was also parenting and putting Zach to bed, but I was pretty disappointed because for this game, Zach was awake and he was like, why does that team keep scoring? And it's like, I don't know. I don't have good answers.
You're like, exactly. And I wish I could PG or G version my response, but yeah. Third period, Carlson again, which is great for me. I love it to see at 15:45 with the power play goal. And a little over a minute later, about a minute later, we'll say Connor Sherry scores to tie it at 4-4. And then it just kind of got drawn out and into the shootout, and we lose 5-4.
Yeah, I just got a raid on Twitch, which is pretty cool. I very rarely get raids, so I appreciate that. Behind that suit, it does a whole bunch of different cool stuff out of Montreal. So maybe they're a hockey fan as well, but I appreciate them for joining us. They do some virtual reality, kind of cool stuff. But anyway, I just want to give them a quick little shout out because for the raid. But yeah, it was a rough game, right? It was just I was so happy that in the second period, though, I love Ovi and John Carlson, and in the third, I thought we were going to do it. We had all that momentum, John Carlson, Connor Sherry, but the shootout, I really didn't like the people we put out there. But Gil, I know how much you hate the shootout. I echo those sentiments. Obviously Kuzi is wonderful. Another opportunity where we really missed TJ Oshie, because if he could have been one of our first three, we would have been out of this thing and won it, and he wasn't. Gil, what are your thoughts on this game, and then obviously the shootout?
Well, first of all, I loathe the shootout. Let's just get that out of the way. I don't know anyone that hates it as much as me, so we'll put that out there. This game was the most unique. It was our feature game. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast yet, it was our feature game in our coverage. And we made it so because, well, the Caps actually showed some fight in this one. I'm sure, like you said, everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people were like they're falling behind 3-0 first period. It's all over with. We're just gonna turn it off. Well, if you stay tuned to it, they put up one hell of a fight, and it was very entertaining to watch. And it proved to me at least that if they can come at this, like Kasey was saying, if they can come at this with a mentality of, hey, we want to win this game. And they actually had that for the final 40 plus minutes of this game. If they come at it with that attitude, broken lineup or no, they can accomplish that. Well, St. Louis, they're an okay team this year. They're not blowing off any doors. They just came off of a really bad losing streak, and then they started a winning streak. But there's still something of a worthy team to play against, and that I think that would have been a great momentum swing had they been able to pull that off. But I mean, they were lucky not to lose in overtime, frankly. But the shootout is the shootout,
true.
and to come out of it with a standings point is a moral victory, I think. But I just, again, they need to approach the game with a completely different mentality. They look disorganized and unprepared, and well, I mean that's the guts of it. They're not looking like a team that wants to win the games.
Yeah, and I question some of the decision making, because I mean I understand he's trying to go with the hot hand with two of them, John Carlson, and a Connor Sherry, but I just think there were better options on the bench that they could have gone with, or at least given a try to some of the younger guys that people haven't seen, and I don't know. But Kasey, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
This is not one that I got to see live, but I did go back and watch highlights. It's a game where I think that shows that we're better than what we've been, because when we're willing to fight, we're going to fight back. We're going to prove that we can actually hang, and that's what I was thinking about. A year ago, we were in a situation where we had injuries. We were in we had all these things going on, yet we still hung in. We still collected points. We were doing the things that could get us into a position at the end of the year, because we were taking victories early. This year, it seems like, I don't know if everybody around us is that much better or if our schedule is that much harder, but it seems like we're not doing the same things. Like last year, we had so many more younger players by this point in the season come in and just like start literally showing us what they could do. And now it seems like we just don't have it, except you see these moments that say, no, we've still got it. We're just not get together. And I don't know what's going on with the chemistry that's causing that to be an issue.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, Kasey, like you feel the same way that Gil and I do. We're just not seeing the 60 minutes.
No.
And that's what's so frustrating. Like this St. Louis game, I will admit I turned it off. And then when you see like, that like they were desperate, at the end, it's like, well, we shouldn't have to be desperate to win.
Did you ever find out that it was close and turn it back on, or did you just keep it off?
No, I will say I was reading and I looked at my phone and was like, oh man, we just tied it up. And then but honestly, I didn't like, and that's what
that's when it was tied, and I went running. I was like, wait, they tied it? Like, how?
I wish I wish I would have, but no, like something was just like, oh my God, like they tied it up, but it's like too little too late. And I hate that. And that's why like I've just been so frustrated, like when it comes time to do this show or the podcast, just to be like, I hate, and I know it's the reality of sports, of course. But it's like I hate that we're just in like it's just I feel like the only way I can describe the team is either like unsettled or scattered. And that's just I just can't. I feel like I'm between the two because it's, you know, we know the potential's there, the talent is there, the skill is there, the speed is there, the leadership is there. But for some reason it's just not, you know, all kind of coming together, and that's just it's frustrating.
I detest desperation hockey more than any other form of hockey that we can see in game.
Yeah.
Because all it shows me is what you are capable of if you're engaged.
Yeah.
You should be able to come out for 60 minutes. You are a professional hockey player. You should be able to, and I get people have off nights. We have off nights in every profession.
Right. But they have 82 games of so
frustrating is that we're seeing a lot of desperation hockey in moments whenever you all could have been in this game.
Yeah.
You could have been in it from the start. And you know, I was thinking to myself like last night, one of the players that when they're engaged, it feels like we're doing the best. And it's the same way for the Wizards. We'll get to that later. Both of them have the name Kuz. When both of them are in, when Kuznetsov is engaged or Kyle Kuzma's engaged, the rest of the team seems to follow. And, you know, I mean, Kuzi's got 12 assists this year, but he's only got 2 goals. And I mean, you know, he's someone that we need to rely on. And it's like, I feel like that's the barometer of where we're at. I'm not blaming Kuzi, but it shows when he's engaged, it seems everybody else is more.
Right.
Why are we not all engaged right
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating. All right, let's get into this last game. We'll do this one quickly because this is very frustrating. I did not think it was
honestly,
going to go well, but like it went much worse than I expected.
It did. And
I'll be totally honest, I didn't watch this game either. And I know that Kasey didn't watch it live, and I was going to turn it on, but like it was going so badly I couldn't see a reason to do that. Like I saw the very beginning, and then I tried to check in on it. I was like, nah, I think I'm good on that. So I actually listened to the very end, the last 10 minutes on the radio as I was going shopping, because I was like, I'd rather go shopping than watch them.
Well, that's just it. Like usually I write things out or look on the look on the app, but it's really, we lost 4-0. And this was the most highlighted, not 60 minutes of hockey. It was incredibly frustrating. I don't even know what to say. I mean, Gil, you could sum it up better than I can, but this was just one of those things where it's like there was nothing more to say than 4-0 on my end.
Yeah, pretty much. And the shame of it is, again, the Caps didn't really have that bad of a game. They actually started the game. They actually looked better on paper. If you look at some of the stats, they actually led the shot advantage. And for the first 17 minutes of this game, they actually looked like they could keep up and play against the defending Stanley Cup champions. And then they got those 2 penalties, and everything just fell apart when Cale Makar got that first goal. It's like they realized, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're being outclassed here. We'll just not show up. And
exactly. So it was like 17 minutes in the first period. And you know, you still have 40 minutes plus to go. And I feel like they're just like, exactly like, oh, well, you know, just gonna let it go. And I was hoping to see more from Kemper. I was hoping to see more from, I don't know what at this point, like, I don't even know who I can pick like out of a hat and to be like, okay, how about number so-and-so? Like, want to see more from you.
I think the thing is it's not that any one person needs to do better. They all need to do better collectively, like to make up for the loss of some of the players that I was talking about before, because no one player playing at their best is going to make the difference. They all do. It's a sport with lots of lines, and it's just very very frustrating. But there just doesn't seem to be that spark that we're missing. Kasey, any quick thoughts on this before we? I'm not gonna spend too much time on this game. Yeah.
I got nothing on this one, Robbie.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go through the upcoming schedule. I'm gonna name all 3 games, and then just because we only have about 5-10 minutes left, I'm gonna assign each one of you guys a game to talk about, and that way, instead of all of us talking about all 3 of the games, because then that can go on for a while. So we're gonna talk about the Philadelphia game, which is on Wednesday. That's the 7:30 game, and then Friday, November 25th, we're playing the Flames. It's a home game at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, because they assume people don't have work, I guess, on a Friday. But anyway, I mean, luckily I don't, but I will be in New York City, so I will need help, recapping this game next week for sure. But then on Saturday, at New Jersey, ironically, I'll be driving like kind of by there on my way down. Well, I'm not driving, I'm taking a train, but anyway, but like the train will go by there in some ways, as I head out of town from New York. But New Jersey's been incredible. I just want to point out that they have won
15-3.
Is it 15?
15-3-0.
15-3-0.
15-3-0. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in a row now. And they have actually won tonight, right? Is this correct? This is, yeah. They just finished their game against Edmonton where they won 5-2. So that brings it to 13 in a row. Then they play Toronto on Wednesday, and then Friday at Buffalo, and then Saturday they play against Washington in New Jersey. But New Jersey Devils have been playing incredible with our old goalie. So that one's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. But I'm going to give each one of you guys one of those games. And Kasey, since you're the guest of honor, I will let you pick first. Which of the 3 games do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the one that's going to be the most interesting and the one offer that people will come out of the woodwork and say that we should win, but it's going to be hard, and that's the Flyers game.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what are your thoughts on that game?
That is a team that if you sat back and you looked at last year and the struggles that they had, and they went through a fire sale trade deadline, you think we should come out with a team that's still constructed as well as ours that was in the playoffs last year, that we should come out and be able to win. But this team is 7-7. I think they're 7-7-3, 7-7-4, and Tortorella's got this group playing good hockey. I'm being 50%. Well, at 500 almost, with if you don't count the overtime losses, they're showing that they can play good hockey. It's a team that it's a in division rival. There's a lot of things that we've got going on that we're going to have to look at, and I think the Capitals can win this. Out of the next 3 games, is the one that I have the most hope that we'll get 2 points in, but it's not going to be. It's absolutely not going to be easy. It's a team that is hungry, and they have a coach that doesn't accept less than the best. Don't make him mad.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a couple of thoughts on this team. So this team started off actually pretty well. They won their first 3 games, won 4 out of their first 5, and then 5 out of their first 7, I believe. And then it's gone pretty much downhill in the month of November. They got 2 wins, one at Ottawa and one against St. Louis, but now they've lost 7 in a row, including, this is kind of the opposite of the New Jersey team. They lost tonight to continue that streak going the negative way, which always makes me very, very nervous because teams love to break streaks against us. But I hope that you're right. It's a team that's going to be playing desperate hockey, and so that makes me very, very nervous. All right, so Anna, I'll let you make the choice. Do you want to talk about the Flames game that's on on Friday, or the New Jersey game on Saturday?
You know what? I'll go with Calgary. Why not?
All right,
I will say,
break it down.
I think, to be honest, I think the way the Capitals are playing, I'm going to go for a win with Philly, but I do think that this Calgary game is going to be tough. And I do think because I hate the afternoon games. It's great for fans. Like, to be honest, like there's nothing better go to 2 o'clock and then you're home by 6 and it's great. But when you truly look at the roster and you look at their record and they're 8-7-2, that's rough. But when I look at the names on the roster and you have a Richie, a Lindholm, let me see, there were other ones. Kadri. Like, that's my concern. Like, you got some big hitters, you got some big players on here. I think it's going to be a very physical game. And I just hope, I'm hoping that this is going to be the game that we see Oshie back. I know he's been on the ice recently. I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know. Like, it's going to be tough. But I do feel like this is going to be the most physical game of, you know what, maybe not of the three. It's going to be a physical game. I don't know. I don't like the afternoon game. I just don't like the Flames. They're really, really good.
Yeah, no, I think all of what you said is very true. I was pulling up some of the Calgary stats just so that we can talk about what they've recently been up to. They've beaten that Philadelphia team. They beat the Florida team before that on Saturday. They lost to Tampa Bay, but the 2 games before that were also wins. They beat Los Angeles and Winnipeg before that.
Yeah.
They had a big losing streak leading up to that part of their schedule.
So I was like, but they've got they've got the names there that are consistent for scoring, and we just don't have that. Like, let's be honest, like, we didn't have John Carlson for a while, and Ovechkin, like, everybody's got his number. So, there's that kind of things where it's like, oh my God, we just need, like, you want to say, I wish we can get all of our injured players back, but we can't. So we need the other guys to step up, but they need to have more ice time in order to get the chemistry on the line. So, it's that. So I'm a little concerned about the Calgary game, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I understand that they're playing Pittsburgh before they play us. So it'll be interesting to see how if that has any impact in that game. All right, Gil, last one before we get out of here. You get the one against the New Jersey Devils. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, of course, as we said, New Jersey's on a hot streak now. And, well, if this gives anybody hope, guess who their last loss was to?
Was to us, I believe, right?
It was to these same Washington Capitals that they're going to play Saturday. So if that gives anybody hope, of course, a bit of a difference between then and now. I'm seeing some fans make a big deal about Vanacek's doing so well with them. I don't know how much stock I would put into that, not to take away from Double V, V squared, as I used to call him. He's still a pretty good goalie, but I think if you go over the New Jersey's games, they do a pretty good job of limiting chances, limiting shots on goal. So I don't know how much of that is Vanacek versus the overall team play. And New Jersey's got it. They're winning games because they play great as a team. They have very good players. Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt are leading the team in scoring each. But they have an overall solid team game. That's been the key to their winning. I think the Caps can compete with them, but if they decide to play as a team for 60 minutes, they don't necessarily need to come out scoring 7-8 goals to win this game. If they can put a solid 60-minute effort, they can win this game. Now, by then, there's a good chance, so I hear, that a lot of the, well, not a lot, but a couple of the missing regulars may be back by then, fingers crossed, but you never know.
Yeah. Right now, New Jersey is leading the division, which I just think is such a shocking thing that I never thought I would say this far. Because they're almost at the 20 game mark. It's not like they're leading the division in week 1. They've put up 15 wins to 3 losses for a total of 30 points. They right now have a 7-game cushion on Carolina, who's in second place. So I just want to give people an idea. They're not that same New Jersey Devils team that we beat 8 times in a row a couple of years ago.
Right.
They are a much better team, but I hope that we continue to dominate them and have their number, which also happens in sports. So anyway, we are running out of time. I see that our panelists for our next segment are already here. It goes so quickly, but I'm going to let Anna and Gil say their goodbyes, and Kasey will have you turn off your camera, but we're going to bring you back. So we'll talk more about your podcast and have your goodbyes after the Wizard segment. But before I let Anna and Gil go, I just want to tell everyone to go to sportsothp.com, click the podcast partners button, and then you can click the Power Play Point podcast, which is there. You can get a really great breakdown by Anna and Gil, even more in depth into these games and their thoughts on the week upcoming. And I really appreciate both of your time. Anna, for your sake, I hope that the 49ers have a great night tonight. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, I hope everybody has a happy and healthy Thanksgiving break, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Sounds good. And Gil, thank you so much for joining once again. And I hope that you have a wonderful week as well.
You do the same. Always great to be on with you guys, and wishing everybody a great holiday weekend.
Yes. And so that was a great segment. I'm so happy all four of us got to do that together. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I look forward to breaking it down more next week. It'll be an interesting week for the podcast and for the team for sure. So
absolutely. Take care. Have a great show. Hi, Duchesne. Hope everything's well.
Doing well. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye, Anna.
All right. So we got the crossover happening. I appreciate the voices of Champ.